So let the movie begin, but it will not be a movie, it will be a conversation with two excellent gentlemen, Minister of Public Administration of the Republic of Slovenia, Mr. Boštjan Koritnik, and President of AmCham Slovenia, and CEO and President of the Board of NLB, which for those who are not from the region is the biggest, the largest finance institution in the region. So gentlemen, hello and welcome. And I know that we set high level, but one thing that it's really important is that we know how do you feel in this new normal. So I'll start with you, Mr. Koritnik. Welcome. Your feelings, how do you feel?
Well, after nearly 8 months, 7 months, I'm used to the new normal, and I might say I used to work in the academia, so at the faculty. Remote work was our reality even before, so less changes for me.
And for you, Blaž, how do you manage now? How do you live?
Well, we are fully remote practically for some time, and we don't not only work remotely, we have adjusted to it in a way that I believe everyone is feeling now comfortable. On the other hand, we are offering as one of the vital services to the country continuous, of course, supply of cash and continuously operating branches. So we do differentiate from many others in a way that besides, of course, food retailers, we are the ones providing our services continuously. And this has been the case actually throughout the last 7 months. So we are, of course, remote when it comes to our internal relationships and working through contact centers and working, of course, through other means of channels. But when it comes to physical contact with our clients, we are actually there for them. So in branches, nothing has changed practically. We use, of course, protective equipment and so on, but we are there. We are there with smile. And our people are providing the vital service.
We heard leadership, trust, communication, creative thinking, competences, results-driven and goal-oriented. These were basically the findings of the both surveys in the business and in public sector. Is there something surprising for you, Mr. Brodnjak, that we are at the end of the day all really similar, and as human beings, we really want probably the same?
I definitely share this view. At the end, I mean, we were talking about talent attraction, right? I mean, talents follow winning mentality, and talents follow, the ambition, and talents follow, the work environment and societies that create value for them. And it starts with ambition and winning mentality. You cannot, go for Olympic medal if you don't want to be, of course, if you're not willing to sacrifice. But firstly, you don't set this target in front of you. And both when it comes to businesses, of course, we want to be the most meaningful business in this region. We want to be the most attractive employer in this region. This is our, vision of this business, which is the same I would expect, for example, from public administration, from local municipalities. I mean, we're talking about housing issues in the morning. Travel to Vienna, learn from them, do it. It's not a rocket science, but you have to decide housing right is a basic right, And then it starts unfolding, and the same is true with this COVID situation. I just take it as a reset. I mean, the remote work, I would call work from home, because then we can talk about work-life balance, but secondly, people should not travel if it's not needed. I mean, let's keep traffic out of city centers. Let's start talking about, healing the planet. I mean, there is such a high value in this. People are in principle more satisfied. They can find more balance, but we are cleaning also the planet this way. So digitization, I mean, this is just a means. I mean, the fact that N26 can still sell a credit card to a citizen of Slovenia, the way I cannot after 3 years of me lobbying, for this just to be, at a level playing field, is to me ununderstandable, incomprehensible. It's still the case.
Mr. Koritnik, you came from academia, you were in business, and you kept the ambitious, what Mr. Brodnjak just mentioned. And do you find that digitalization is the way of how this can be also done? And of course, we saw that 75% of public employees work remotely. Will this continue? Will this thing basically help us shift the mindset?
By all means, I believe so. Of course, I agree with Mr. Brodnjak regarding the move from the offices, keeping the sustainable development a real thing, not just a letter on the paper. I think digitalization is about to change, is changing already. Also, automatization of the processes. You know, many of our professions will be extinct in 5 to 7 years due to automatization, artificial intelligence, and I think this shift caused overnight, as my colleague Peter Pogačar said, will increase the speed of these changes. So I think it is a start of a revolution in the way we work, and I hope it will increase the quality of the personal life, business life balance, and of course the efficiency of what we're working and doing.
The way how we work is definitely different. So Mr. Brodnjak, we will introduce, and we have already introduced, new different ways of working. We will improve productivity, but we also heard that the leadership in this point is crucial. So did you change anything in your leadership style?
Well, it's above all the intensity of communication that is in principle now higher, you know, because especially during the uncertain period of COVID, you know, one thing is clearly remote operations, but the other thing is uncertainty. People do feel insecure. People, you know, half of people are almost close to paranoid given the situation, right? So it is really somehow instilling confidence and comfort and calming them more or less that, you know, everything is going to be all right. As much important as giving proper guidance and vision on business in business terms. So it is really now a combination of being simply human, you know, understanding, you know, that they are somehow in distress, and, you know, being with them, you know, reporting, you know, I'm on the ground visiting branches as well, but, you know, also having a town hall addresses to all the employees. I think this is very important now to do it more frequently, to keep them in the loop, you know, keep them informed, of course, provide now also the protective equipment and so on, and at the same time being a business leader. So it's really now, it's a bit of a family treatment now because of the stress, but then at the same time showing the light at the end of the tunnel. Furthermore, showing this crisis to be an enormous opportunity, because this is about a firm we live in. This is one of the greatest opportunities ever for this part of the world. So now vaccines are here practically half a year, maybe a bit more, you know, when we get out of this stress, but then we are going to fly. And we have such a potential. And if we now put all of us together to the common denominator, and I'm really getting very, very frustrated what's happening now, you know, given who is going to govern. Guys, let's jointly govern until next elections. But in this period, let's really address this enormous opportunity. Let's not fight for power now. Let's just, you know, jump the train and ride as fast as we can. You know, out of the health crisis, and of course, on board of business.
Thank you so much. And this communication is so important to have really good connections. Mr. Koritnik, for the business leaders, it's obvious. They need to lead, they need to be business leaders, and as Blaž said, also have this family treatment toward their people. Is this something that is obvious also for the public servant leaders? Is this something that you want to introduce into your work? And of course, your colleagues throughout the public administration recognize creative thinking and problem solving as the key for basically addressing new challenges. How will you adapt to that? And what is the strategy for public administration to introduce this even more? So 2 questions in one. How will you as a leader lead, and how will the public administration strategy be adapting to the need of new competences?
Well, thank you for a very innovative question. I don't think the roles in the public sector or in the business are quite so different. They only operate in a different environment. Of course, I heard before Mr. Pogačar said 99% of the leaders in the public sector are not looking for presence, but rather for the results. I would like it to be that way. I don't think we're there yet at the 99%, but it is a way. And I think the difference is also that in the business world, competitiveness sets a high scale on a daily basis, and nothing is taken for granted. On the other hand, in the public sector, we have, let's say, more problems with the comfort zone and getting out of the comfort zone, and that is why this pandemic has done some positive things, pushing us out. And I think the key to being a leader in the public sector in this time is by example. So I think that's not something different from the private sector, but still to be a role, not a role model in a, let's say, literative sense, but rather a role model leading by example, showing what you expect of your co-workers, and not having basis on the being an authority, but rather fighting with arguments, and not having arguments, just fighting.
So I can see that people are saying, yes, it's a big opportunity, let's embrace this. So also our viewers concur to that. So you both mentioned talents, and here, Mr. Koritnik, maybe it's really more difficult, and I'm happy that Mr. Pogačar also said that it will be one of the important things for the Slovenian presidency to really attract talents. It's hard for business, and probably, I would dare to say, it's even harder for the public administration. So what is the strategy in this field?
Well, we all know it's not always about the money. The money is important to attract and to retain talents, but it's not the most important thing. I know at the beginning of my career, I was more, let's say, I was higher when I got acknowledgement from my superior than when I got the salary, and the salary was not low. So it really meant to me this acknowledgement of my results, of my effort. And I think with the policy of being aware of the importance of talents, being aware of the problem of aging, and of course the result is always a combination of young, full of energy, new skills based people, and of course of the ones that are a little longer in the system, that know all the turns and all the hills and holes in the process. This combination is something that works out if we cooperate, and this is what we have to achieve to let's say, support the employment of talents and find a way to retain them. For instance, we have a fund of apartments for civil servants, and we don't have a separate fund for young prosperous talents, for the ones with the professions that are lacking in the market. So this is a way we could approach them and retain them in the system.
Thank you so much. I need to mention, and it was not in the script, but you know that life, it's never in the script, that AmCham has a snowball think tank, and what the aim is to how to attract digital nomads and keep them here. And you will hear from us definitely, Mr. Koritnik, and I know Mr. Brodnjak, that you are supporting this heavily. So one thing that we do here is trust and purpose. So how important is this for leaders, and how important is this that people, talents, trust you?
That's a question to me.
Yeah.
Well, it's the gist, it's the essence. No? Without trust, there is nothing in principle. So being authentic, instilling confidence in people that, what you do makes sense, but then you walk the talk with them. That's simply essential. And trust is easily to be lost, but it takes ages to get back. I mean, let alone our example as NLB. I mean, this was the most reputable company in the country until 2008, and then we became a symbol and stigmatized for everything, for the evil, responsible for everything that went wrong in this country. Although I'm sure we will repay our state aid entirely in coming years, right? and that's why I'm saying, you know, it is very, very difficult to get it back. But it is really about first being up to it as a professional, and then being up to it as a human being, and then with authentic and sufficient level of energy, yielding the message to your colleagues, you know, fellows on all the levels. And people either buy it or they don't. And if they don't, you know, you lose the case. You know? So it's not a given. You have to invest a lot of energy and a lot of work into, you know, persuading them that what you're doing is the right thing and a good cause. And then, of course, you are walking the talk. And, you know, the second you stop walking the talk, you know, the case is lost as well. So I would just mention a couple of things. It's not only, you know, the challenge you give. It's at the end of the day also hygienic factors. And talking about public administration, let's not play the remuneration down. It's a key thing as well. Let's not play down the labor taxation. It's one of the, you know, key elements. If you want to have an IT developer here, you have to pay him in net terms. That's it. You know, besides the beautiful nature. And, you know, if you want to have the best quality people in public administration, you have to pay the market. Full stop. You know, let's call things by the name. Let's call things by the name. You know, so this is something that's hygienic. If you want to have a highly efficient public administration, performance management system is a hygienic factor. You know, you cannot say it is difficult here. You have to install it. You know, everyone has to have clear KPIs. It has to be a fair game. Meritocracy, the best people. I am the first one to sign anywhere you wish. I want to have the best people in the public administration, the best ones. But we want to have a leaner public administration, much leaner. So much better paid, but less people.
And this is something that probably will be a challenge for you, Mr. Koritnik, really how to attract the best in class to the public administration. Partnership for Change is a program, we started with that basically is really trying to diminish many stereotypes that we have. And that is that people in the public administration don't work and the people in business don't care. So we managed in this years to basically drop that because we see many great people in the public administration and the same in the business. But what will be the efforts of your ministry to basically promote that, and how really to have these new ways of working, new opportunities that came with the COVID crisis, that this will become the new normal?
Well, first of all, probably you heard there's a salary system in the public administration on force since 2008. It was quite a good one when it was developed, but 12 years later it's obsolete. So it's not approaching the problems in the right way, and this has to do a lot also with the attractiveness for good experts, especially in the leadership structures. So if I mention that the president of the government has 1,000 public employees before him on the list of salaries, that's something that when we talk to our foreign colleagues, they laugh at us. So this is a negative selection for all the leaders in the public sector, and this is something that we have to address. This is something we have to change, not for this, let's say, government or this leadership structure, but for the ones to come. So this is one thing. You mentioned trust. I completely agree. Trust is one of the key elements when having a successful process or having successful processes. When we started working from home, I said, how do we monitor the results, the achievements? And my colleagues told me, well, we have to give reports every week what we have done at home. And I was like, I don't want to read about I've been answering emails for 5 days. I want to know upfront, what will you do in the next week at home? And that is a slightly heavier mission, but I think it shows the right view. We have to see the results. We have to be result-oriented, not just passing the time. And I have to say, there are many myths, urban myths, we have to break. One of that is you don't work in public administration. I always tell this anecdote. When I was a student, I was always wondering what people in the faculty administration are doing. They have 1 hour open doors, and afterwards they drink coffee. And I had full mouth of that crap, sorry for the expression. And afterwards I was working 6 years at the faculty of biology, and I was working at the administration. And that was the first time that I saw how many processes are there behind backdoor processes that we don't see. We only see the stamp on our paper. So this is that was a great school for me. So I never judge if I don't see it for myself.
Thank you so much. And this is one good thing that I can say, that we'll hear from Alex Roberts, Deputy Head of OPSI and Lead for Country Public Sector Innovation from OECD, a short clip that will show their view. And then, of course, I'll ask both you gentlemen for the comments.
Hello, my name's Alex Roberts from the OECD Observatory of Public Sector Innovation. Are we seeing different forms of organisation within the public sector now? I think we are in many ways. Over the past few years, we've seen a lot of flattening of organisations, in part due to austerity or government cuts, which have forced organisations to become leaner. I think we've also seen over the past few years more engagement and experimentation with innovation labs, which provide a different sort of structure for bringing together talent and different methodologies, different types of people, different skill sets, and experimenting with those, and engaging with the public and other parts of the public sector in different ways. I think we've also seen the rise of different types of arrangements. From Canada, for instance, I can think of the Free Agents program, which allows people to take on different roles, to self-identify as a free agent and to work in different areas depending on where their skills are needed. Another example also from Canada and the Impact and Innovation Unit, where their behavioural insights team has hired people with behavioural insights expertise, but then sort of loaned them out to other areas across the public service, so that they're still connected back in one central area and can share learning across different areas, but also are put where they're needed, so those skills can be built upon and demonstrated in different contexts. And I think we're seeing the rise of different types of platforms that allow different types of engagement with the public sector, with the private sector, with the community. Ways of leveraging skills and talent outside of the usual sort of hiring arrangements or whatnot. There are challenge platforms that allow governments to issue challenges and say, this is where we need help, who can help us? There's the rise of other platforms that empower people by government giving them the tools and resources and knowledge necessary to act in different ways. I think it's tough. Bureaucracy is always going to pull towards certain forms of organisation. A command and control sort of structure is built in to a lot of how we think about bureaucracy. But I do think we're seeing the signs of new forms, new structures that might provide alternate ways of arranging and working in the public sector.
And with this, what I can add is basically that we are proud that Slovenia has an innovative platform called Partnership for Change, that we are happy as AmCham, who is partner with the government, that it's not basically one of the things that we think it's not good when the one government starts something that the other then stops it. So 4 ministers were there with this, and I'm proud that we are continuing with this. Mr. Koritnik, what do you see? Is this one of way how we can better cooperate? Because cooperation was mentioned, but 91% of public employees that this is something how we can address the future challenges.
By all means, this Canadian example is great. It's connecting processes and skills through people moving around. This is, like you mentioned, one of the projects of AmCham, so that people get to know different places, get out of the, I already mentioned, the comfort zone. And I think this is something we should try to keep as a new normality. Also regarding the already mentioned the life, personal life, business life balance, and of course also sustainable development. Less people on the roads, more let's say flexible work time. We already know that in Sweden they know let's say morning type people and evening type people, night type people, and they acknowledge that difference, and effectivity grows. So we have to be more flexible and have more understanding for the fact that people are different, and that doesn't mean bad or worse, just different.
Thank you so much, Minister. And I think since you're working in the public administration, nobody knows what type of you, because you work 24/7. Thank you for that, and thank you. It's not an easy time to govern. And the same goes to you, Mr. Brodnjak, dear Blaž, our president. You're also 24/7. Is this something that we need to learn as leaders, that we need to work now in these times of crisis?
I think everyone needs to learn that work has become a part of the life, right? And you should stop splitting work and family and free time and work. I think it's an integral part of us, and we should be able to come to define work as flexible enough to accommodate for the best things from the private life, right? And the other way around. Everyone who is stuck to eight-hour working day, logic is going to be lost in space, because digitization is simply, all across the board. And it's much more convenient for, I don't know, someone to take kids out of the school and out of the kindergarten at 3 o'clock and then work until 6 or something, and everyone is happy. As the alternative being rushing from the city center at 2:30 to be there on time at 3 and being fully frustrated 2 hours before, right? So this is something that we simply have to, I guess, internalize and accept that, the work is no longer something you have to do. It's no longer something that is a duty, but is a part of your life, and it's simply dignified that you can have work, and you have to appreciate work, and the same is then true for what is the purpose of what I'm doing. So is purpose of public administration being the largest employer in the country? Or is their ambition to become the best service company? I mean, they are called public service, right? I mean, they are supposed to be the best service to its population, to its clients who are Slovenians, right? And then it starts with this definition. I am working for purpose. I am providing service to my fellow citizens, and I want to be the best in the world. Minister Koritnik had this idea, the best digital society in the world. And there was not much done since then, and I'm really have good hopes now with the new minister that there is going to be again a momentum and acceleration of these efforts. But I think, as said, work has become a part of life. Digitization has embedded it into whatever we do. It's on our phone. Work is here 24/7, right? But this enables you to be much more effective, because you can tackle it. And maybe it's for someone that is an evening time better to do it at 11 o'clock in the evening than at 6 o'clock in the morning, right?
Thank you so much. You see, this is my president. So you know that my work is all the time here, but for me, it's really important what we'll do next. First, I would like to thank both of you gentlemen. It was a good discussion, many fruits for thought. But for us, the 7th round of Partnership of Change is something that we are really proud of, and we really feel it. So Nina, tell us, how will now bring this to an end?
Yes, thank you, Ajša. Well, we've heard that collaboration really is key, and what we have heard so far, the future will be full of creation of innovative solutions.